What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of our Arizona Diamondbacks series here in OOTP20. Last time we were here, it was July the 12th, right here, that San Diego loss. Since then, things have not been going great. We lost this series to Colorado, only took one. Two of the games weren't particularly close. Then we lost the series against Atlanta. Those games were a little bit closer until the finale. And then we had a good start to the series against Colorado on the 24th after the All-Star break, winning 3-2 and then 7-5, but then we lost 2-11. So overall, it's not been the worst month of all. We've won every single Saturday matchup, so that's something. But no, really, it's just not been a great month. But we've looked better than we've ever looked this season. If you take a look at our splits, in April we were 10-14, May we were 10-18, June we were 9-18, and July we're 10-11, so we're not good, but it's been a lot better. That said, though, as I mentioned last episode, we're getting into some trades. I've left myself about 5 days before the trade deadline to go ahead, scrounge together these deals, and figure out exactly where we're going. Some names that I mentioned before, basically just the guys on one-year deals: Peralta, Ray, Steven Souza Jr., even somebody like Tyler Flowers, maybe somebody that we can get something back for. And really anyone who is performing moderately well and is of some value is probably somebody that we'll be looking to shop around. So we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty optimistic that we can get some, maybe not franchise altering pieces back, but some pieces to clear out some of the chaff that's at our major league top without decimating anything too heavily, and also making this team a little bit younger and hopefully better next year, because I think this year is a bit of a lost one. If we won 20 games, we would still only be 8 over 500, so 20 games in a row is a lot to win, and that still wouldn't put us anywhere near where we want to be. So it's really unfortunate, but sometimes these things happen. It's just a byproduct of a roster that's not quite deep enough with top-tier talent. We just have a couple of guys who are really good, and then everyone below them was kind of and that's just not going to allow you to be consistent as far as I'm concerned. So that being said, I'm going to go away and start making some trades. I will be back with you whenever anything big happens, or if we move forward a day, I'll probably talk about what I've been doing, and we'll kind of break things up like that. This episode might just go straight to the end of the season and do a little bit of a review there, because honestly, there's likely not going to be much to show you unless we go on the greatest run of all times, and even if we do that, then that's something to show you as well. So just a little preview of what to look for. Let's make some trades. Alright, first trade is a small one before we get into hopefully some of the meatier stuff. Tyler Flowers, our backup catcher, he's very good defensively. He's actually been doing pretty well offensively for us as well. Going to be traded along with Taylor Garris, who's having a nice little year in rookie ball, but has really struggled when pushed above that in his career, and also just doesn't have very much upside at all. Trading him for Jose Olis Lopez, who admittedly doesn't look like a superstar, but hopefully can be somebody we can leverage in future trades. Only in rookie ball right now, but again, I'm looking at this as a future trade piece for my organization that hopefully we can develop, turn into a bit of a success, and then flip on for some profit. It's a tiny one, but the Cubs only have one catcher on their roster right now because of injury issues, which is Wilson Contreras. And Wilson Contreras, honestly, I was comparing the two, and right now the way that Wilson Contreras is going, he doesn't look that much better than Tyler Flowers. So yeah, I think this is a fairly decent trade for both sides. Again, it's a small one, but hopefully after this we move into some bigger stuff. Okay, it's been a day. We actually beat the Cubs. If we take a look at that real quick, Zach Greinke was on the mound, gave us a really solid outing, and then we used way too many relievers to get the result that we wanted. Still, though, it's a win. And as we are about to make our second trade. We're going to ship out Christian Walker. One, because I don't think he's ever going to hit this good again. He's hitting 918. Um, he has 3 WAR already. He's on pace for 4.8 WAR season, which is tremendous. Don't get me wrong, but also I really don't think that he's that good. And he's a first baseman, and I don't super heavily value first baseman, especially since I'm in the National League. Now, the Astros, however, are not in the National League, so that means they have that DH spot, and they are really struggling at first base right now. I looked at AJ Reed. He has like a 720 OPS, which is just unacceptable for a first baseman, and they've struggled with their DH spot as well. So even though they have Yordan Alvarez in as sort of their first base option of the immediate future, he's crushing in AAA. They're unwilling to call him up. So I'm assuming maybe protecting service time, something like that. I really don't know. But either way, Christian Walker would be an immediate solution for them without any of the uncertainty, hopefully, that Yordan Alvarez would present. And also, Yordan Alvarez has huge platoon splits, so he doesn't hit lefties very well. He hits righties very well, and Christian Walker is a little bit of the opposite. So either they can platoon, or in the future they can have one at DH and one playing first base. It really doesn't matter to me. All that matters is the realism and what I'm getting back, and what I'm getting back I think is actually very good. Seth Beer, I'm not sure if he'll ever play for us, but I know that he's going to hit wherever he goes. He's got a great hit tool, and I think he could really make use of it. Then we're also getting back Ronnie Dawson. Dawson's kind of interesting. He's only a left fielder. He's mashing in AAA. I'm not entirely sure what he'll do at the major league level. He could be really good. He could be meh. We'll have to see, but as we're likely to trade some outfielders in the coming days, I thought it was smart to grab an extra one, and again, it never hurts to take a flyer. The main piece that I'm getting back is Seth Beer, again, who is a tremendous bat. He's too raw to help the Astros right now, but he certainly could help us in a future year, and you never know if his defense might improve. Talent changes all the time. I actually have the talent change randomness up a little bit high on the save just because I think it's more realistic. And so you never know. He could actually develop some defense. So this is our second trade. I will be back as we make our third. All right, welcome to a big old trade. So Robbie Ray, we're going to move him on. It's not ideal. Probably if it was going to happen, I should have had it happen last year, but circumstances were different. Anyway, all of that to say, he's having a decent year. I think he's being tremendously unlucky. He doesn't deserve a 4.66 ERA at all. And the Colorado Rockies happen to need a starter. If we look at their active roster, their starters are okay. Senzatella has a 5.8, though. Yency Almonte has a 6.3, so they definitely need to kick one of those guys out of the rotation if they're serious about contending. It's not something that I love doing, trading within the division, but I just feel like I have to get value, and Colorado is one of the few places where I feel like I can get it. We're also sending Taylor Widener along. I just don't trust him to become anything. He's walking a ton of guys. Maybe they can use him as a swingman or a relief pitcher. It's seemed to make the deal work, and their bullpen is pretty bad, so you never know. But getting back in return, what I think is a pretty solid second baseman, again, at least kind of half developed. You could put him on a major league team right now, and he would, not do well, but he would fill at least a role and some room to improve, grow into some home run power, and improve the hit tool a little bit. He has a high work ethic as well, so it's likely that he'll hopefully reach that ceiling. And then we're also getting Drew Mendoza, who's, again, kind of a substandard defensive player, which is a theme that I'm finding along most of the offers that I'm able to put out that actually are finding some traction, is that teams are just more willing to let these kinds of guys go. And I think it's worth taking a flyer on for a team that, just needs talent wherever it can get it. Could be a good third baseman across the board. No real standout tool, but I think he could be pretty decent, and he has some prospect pedigree as well. So Robbie Ray, hats off, into the sunset. Terran Vavra, I'm going to have trouble with that, I can already tell, and Drew Mendoza. Welcome on in. The trades just keep on coming. So David Peralta is going to be leaving us again, another guy that's just on an expiring contract, and that I'm trying to get some value for, especially as a 32-year-old. Nobody that we really have interest in re-signing. We're going to be sending him along with Taylor Clark, who to me is just organizational depth, out to the Atlanta Braves, who are starting Billy Hamilton in right field. And he is hitting 690 OPS. So that's about as good as you would expect from Billy Hamilton. And they're in this very tight race along with Colorado, who we just traded some help to. And they may be looking to even get into this division race. They are 5.5 back, but you never know. They could still get a little bit back into it. And their offense is good, but it could definitely become sort of dominant if they have the right pieces in the right places. And I think that this is what we're helping them do here with David Peralta, strengthening out that outfield and giving them an offense to tear that division apart. What we're getting back is Kyle Wright, who's currently out with a pretty bad arm injury, which is super scary. He'd been doing kind of okay, I guess, at AAA. Nothing spectacular. Hasn't really dominated a level in a while, so there are a lot of worries about him, but he's a ground ball pitcher. The potential still looks good. He's a little bit on the older side, but I've noticed that players are tending to continue developing even into their mid-20s on this year's OOTP. So we'll see. I'm interested by him. And then Christian Zamora is another guy who's a bit of a flyer, only 19, has some possibly plus home run power that's already really developed, actually, and could put some decent tools across the board at average sort of level, play some good defense. The only thing missing is the eye and the discipline. But he's currently hitting really well in Rookie League, and I think he could be pushed, pretty aggressively. So two, I think, pretty good pieces that we're getting back in this trade for David Peralta, and hopefully one that'll help us fairly immediately, and then with Zamora, one that'll help us a little bit further down the line. So let's go ahead and complete that. The fans are not happy, as I understand. I probably also wouldn't be. Our Major League roster is not looking too great. Just because I've kind of been decimating it. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in some holes and try and find maybe two-ish more trades. I'm looking particularly at Steven Souza Jr., Eduardo Escobar, maybe Colin McHugh. I don't think anyone would realistically trade for him, though, so I think we're kind of stuck with him as it stands. But yeah, maybe Escobar and Souza Jr., we can see if we can get anything back from them. But I think we've done most of the trading that we're going to do, and I think you can look over at the stats side to see just how much we've traded away. Leader in ERA, leader in strikeouts, second place in wins, leader in RBIs, leader in home runs, leader in batting average, second and third in batting average. So we are shipping out some major talent here, but again, nobody that we would necessarily have for next year other than Christian Walker, and no guarantee that he would play this well in the next year either. So I'm not too upset about it. I mainly just wish that we had done better this season so that I could make some slightly different moves, but overall I'm all right. So let's try and make maybe a couple more trades, and then I think I'll be happy. All right, guys, I have spent a good long time trying to find something for Escobar and for Souza Jr. In the end, just really nothing I liked came up, and really in the name of respectability, I think I should probably keep both of them on the team just to make it look like we're making somewhat of an effort to win some games. So as it stands right now, here is our pitching staff. Yohan Lopez has been put into the starting rotation because I forgot to promote Zach Godley, like I told myself that I was going to. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put up Luke Weaver because we traded for him, so I guess he has value. So this is how it's supposed to look with our, there we go, more normal pitching staff. I still think it's a pretty decent one on paper. I mean, McHugh should be decent, Greinke should be decent, Kikuchi should be good, Duplantier even should be pretty good, and then Luke Weaver should be, a fifth starter. He shouldn't be great, but he shouldn't fall apart. The bullpen should be good. So, I mean, I still think this is a solid pitching staff. Obviously, it's not one that's going to win us any championships anytime soon, but I think it should be good enough to get us through the rest of the season easily. Here's how our lineups look right now. I've called up Andy Yerzy, who I think I talked about in a comment, maybe not in a video, but he's a decent little prospect for us. Again, has good catcher ability, not amazing arm, but he's pretty decent, and hopefully he'll do a good job backing up Carson Kelly. Then we also have called up Ronnie Dawson, who so far has done well in his 3 at-bats, but he's who I mentioned because I figured actually that I'd be trading away both Souza Jr. and Peralta. As it ends up, only Peralta is gone, so Ronnie Dawson steps in for him. Marcus Wilson ends up being sort of a backup, and Souza gets pushed to center field, and honestly, I'm just past the point of caring. He'll do a not great job there, but I think he'll be okay. And that is the lineup we're going to go with basically the rest of the season, barring any major injuries. So I think it's time to just finish this bad boy out. I will go through and then recap each month. We'll do a little bit of a season review, and then next episode, got to get right back to fixing this team and setting ourselves up for some more success, because honestly, just from my standards, this has been a pretty unacceptable season. So let's see what we can do. Well, after all that, what do you know? All we had to do to get a winning month was just trade away all of our best players. 14-12 we went in August. Here is how we did it. Large stretch of green in the middle of the month. What is that? A 7-game win streak that we had against Cincinnati, and then the Rangers, and then the first 2 of a 4-game set with the Padres. I mean, it's not an amazing month, but it's a pretty good one as far as this season is going, especially, and, just kind of in general as well. That said, still 19 and a half games back in the division, way, way back in the wild card as well. So, a little bit too little too late, or a lot too little too late, I guess I should say, but some positive still to be taken away. Jazz Chisholm did win Rookie of the Month if we take a look at his batting splits. Just a really great August for him, 817 OPS, building off of a pretty good July after what had been a pretty bad season up to that point, to be honest with you. So those are some great signs from one of our youngest and best players, who plays a pretty decent shortstop, I might add. And also Seth Beer, who I told you would mash, is absolutely mashing. So he's hit 9 home runs already in just 34 games at the AA level. Probably going to call him up to spend his last couple of weeks in AAA Reno, where I can only imagine what he'll do to the Pacific Coast League, which, as we all know, is incredibly hitter-friendly. Christian Robinson also got called up to AA. He's doing great. So really, across the board, our prospects doing quite well. Kyle Wright might be up in time to make a couple of starts towards the end of the season, replacing Luke Weaver, who's been pretty awful. Overall, yeah, I mean, about as good as August could have gone. And now it's... Oh, wait, there is one thing, which I'm sure you've spotted, and I almost forgot about it in my attempt to be positive. DeMarcus Evans does have a ruptured disc in his back, so he's been out for about 3 weeks now. No, 2 weeks. And so he's out for 8 to 9 months, which really sucks. He wasn't having the greatest of seasons, but he's just so talented. I have to think at some point it's going to click, and when it does, it's going to be spectacular. So hopefully a quick recovery for him. Luckily for us, it doesn't really matter all that much, because, again, I mean, we're not really playing for anything. So it sucks, but again, not going to hurt us too much. We'll see what we can do in September, and then we'll go through a bit of a season review. Okay, and the season is over, so narrowly avoided a 100-loss season, which, small victories, I guess. September 13th, I believe it was, is when we got officially kicked out of playoff contention, so it was pretty early. I'm not going to lie, it hurt a bit. But yeah, just a really disappointing season all around. Jazz Chisholm continued to be, decently solid in the month of September. Not spectacular, but about a 735 OPS, so nothing bad. Luis Gonzalez looks like he's developing amazingly. And in his batting splits, you can see that September was not his finest month, but he was great in August. So I'm not really sure what the real Luis Gonzalez looks like at this point, but I'm hoping that it's really, really good because that's what we could use. I think he has the extra base power. You can see it in how many of his hits are doubles, triples, and home runs. He's got a little bit of everything in theory. He just needs to put it together at the major league level. Wasn't able to do it this season. Hopefully he can do it next season. Kyle Wright did eventually come up and make a couple of starts. He didn't look great, but his ratings are starting to actually look better. He also upped his velocity, I think, just a tick after he came back from his injury, which I assume is to be expected, but I'm not entirely sure. As far as the story of our season goes, I mean, you can look at it. It's just pitching mostly. Our starters ERA last, our bullpen ERA last, our overall ERA last. I mean, just none of it is very good. Our defensive efficiency is horrendous. That's something that I really need to fix. I tried fixing it with just kind of some patchwork players. It didn't work, so that's something that definitely needs to be prioritized going forward. But yeah, it was just not a good pitching season, and really it wasn't an amazing hitting season either. We were fourth in weighted on base average, which is pretty good. I mean, yeah, we were good at some things. We hit a lot of home runs. We had a lot of extra base hits. We hit for average, but we didn't take a lot of walks. We had the 12th most walks in the NL, which is pitiful. We didn't steal a lot of bases, which is fine. I mean, that's not way up there, but it just kind of was a cascading effect. And so our offense wasn't able to carry us necessarily, especially while our pitching was so bad. Even though we struck out a ton of people, that did not a good pitching staff make, unfortunately. 63 and 99. It was best during the middle of the season, July and August. Those were our two highest winning percentage months, even though they weren't amazing, alongside April, which was also 417. September was real bad. In fact, it was our worst month. So, well, I mean, not including October, which was only 3 games. So it was pretty disappointing overall. But yeah, just that's the word of this season: disappointing. In terms of pitching, I'm just going to go guy by guy here because I've feel like I've sped through this season a little bit. So I want to take a solid look at it and try and get my head around what's been happening. And you get to see me go through that process. So John Duplantier, let's take a look at his pitching stats. I'm just going to go straight to the expanded ones. So he had a 3.29 FIP. So in theory, he should have been amazing. 10 Ks per 9, which is great. Walks are a little on the high side at 3.5, which is certainly not helpful. Gave up 9.7 hits per 9. Only had a 50% ground out percentage, which is low for him. As far as I remember, yeah. Well, no, he's about neutral, so that's roughly in the ballpark. His BABIP was 3.65. Wow, that is just crazy. And has he ever had anything that high in his career? Yeah, so for 57 innings in AAA before he was called up to the major league level, he had it that high, but never in his career over 60 innings. He's never had that. Wow, so that, I mean, that would say bad luck for him. But I'm not sure it's the entire pitching staff that was that same way. Colin McHugh, again, 346 BABIP. That's pretty high. I mean, almost 9 strikeouts per 9. That's seemingly good. 2.3 walks per 9. That's good. Home runs per 9 is a little bit high. But yeah, that BABIP. And I mean, perhaps we could have seen it coming. He gave up a similar BABIP when he was in Houston the previous year, so I don't know. In terms of expanded batting stats, yeah, 379 FIP. The hits per 9 allowed is not great, but again, that's kind of something to do. When you have a 57% ground out percentage, I mean, you would think that you would do a lot better with hits allowed, just in general, when you're striking out 8.8 guys per 9, but I don't know. Not a fantastic season from him, obviously, with a 4.86. Not the worst, but not fantastic. Yusei Kikuchi was our best pitcher. He brought the walks down towards the second half of the season, and actually, if we look at his pitching splits, yeah, he had a great August, which was part of the reason we had such a tremendous August ourselves. And really should have had a great September just looking at his peripherals. I mean, the home runs are too high, but everything else is great. Just looking at the overall statistics, a 4.15 FIP, which is decent, I guess. Again, the home runs per 9 are a little bit high, but they're not horrendous. I don't know. This isn't something that screams bad year for me. It doesn't look great, but yeah, I mean, the walks are just a little bit high. That's really it. Like I said, I think this is a decent pitching staff. I feel like we partially got unlucky, and then we were partially hurt by regression from guys like Zach Greinke, who gave up way too many home runs per 9. I mean, 2.1, which is the highest of his career, even going back to his rookie season, which is just nuts. 8.1 strikeouts, so strikeouts were down, walks were up. Yeah, he just really got slammed around this season. 5.45 FIP. Wow, that's just, I mean, that's awful. That's really bad. Yeah, so I mean, he got hit with regression pretty hard, I feel like. I don't know that he maybe should have been that bad, but yeah, I feel like aging is starting to hit him, which is not good because we have another year left on that enormous contract, which was always going to be a little bit stressed at the end. Kyle Wright didn't have enough innings to really talk about. Yohan Lopez stepped it up towards the end of the season. He was fine, I guess, towards the end. He wasn't very good. Just a quick look over. I mean, walks and home runs per 9 are a little bit too high. Again, another guy who had a higher BABIP than he's ever had before. And I think I'm going to attribute some of that at least to our defense. I mean, that's got to be part of what's happening here. When everybody has a high BABIP, it seems like. I mean, let's sort by BABIP. So, I mean, who had the lowest? Not batting stats, pitching stats. That's what I want. So, who had the lowest BABIP on our team? Archie Bradley at 270. And then the next highest of anyone who played a significant amount, or the next lowest, excuse me, is Kikuchi, who again didn't have a great BABIP. It was just average, and everyone else was above. So yeah, I mean, defense, that has to be at least part of the equation. It can't all be bad luck, is what I have to think. a lot of guys with a decent FIP too, who just blew up. All right. Well, I mean, that's definitely one takeaway. A little bit of bad luck, a lot of perhaps bad defense, which towards the end of the year, admittedly, I just stopped caring about. I mean, I put Steven Souza Jr. in center field. Like, I wasn't expecting great things, but certainly something to think about. In terms of hitting, Ronnie Dawson never hit, which is annoying. I was really hoping he would just be like a solid option, and he wasn't. Andy Yerzy didn't hit in his time. Pavin Smith didn't hit. Luis Gonzalez didn't really hit. I hope he hits next year. I think he will, but I mean, who knows at this point. Jazz Chisholm, we already spoke about how he picked it up. Souza Jr. was really disappointing. I think he is mercifully off the books next year. Yeah, so his $10 million salary is gone, but I think he should have been a lot better. Carson Kelly gave us about what we expect from him, maybe a little bit less, but I mean, he was fine. He was the second highest WAR on the team, I think. Yeah, because his defense is stellar, so he was very good. As far as I'm concerned, Ramon Urias, what a pickup from St. Louis. I mean, I didn't expect him to do this, to be clear, but I thought he would be pretty decent. And all we gave up was Andrew Chaffin. And we got him and a prospect. Admittedly, the prospect's not doing great, but I mean, basically free as far as I'm concerned. And he really stepped it up. He was good. Our best player, according to WAR, on the position side of things. So, yeah, I mean, he's been better than I could have imagined. But nobody really stepped it up, is I guess what I'm getting at. Like, no one really overperformed expectations except for him on, I guess, really the entire team, hitting and pitching, which is kind of sad. But yeah, there you go. All right, well, 63 and 99. There we go. Is our final record. Hopefully, we're going to come back strong after this. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what our minor league system looks like. I won't go too in depth because I know not everybody cares about this, but Brewster was not amazing in his first go at Rookie League, but again, he's 18. George Valera has made it all the way to Double-A. He's looking quite nice. He crushed Double-A. He's going to start in Triple-A and hopefully be up at the big league club very soon. He's looking fantastic. Seth Beer hit 4 home runs in 6 games when he went up to the PCL, which is hilarious. And also, it looks like his defense has improved. Is that right? Because he was at like a 45. So I don't know exactly what's happened there, but I think he's gotten better. Mac Horvath was great in Rookie League, which is nice. Chase Davis was fine, not spectacular. Petey Halpin was okay. Andy Ball was not great. Tyler Callahan was not great. Dylan Coombs was quite good, so he could move quickly through this system. We'll see. Levi Kelly and Joe Lucas, 2 guys who don't really matter this system all that much. Both having bad years. Christian Robinson, he was spectacular. So he started the year in A-ball, crushed. I put him up to high A because I was like, well, he's 19, let's challenge him. He crushed. I put him up to Double-A. He slowed down a little bit, but he was still hitting for a good average and had a good OBP. Just the slugging got away from him. So he really just needs to grow into his power. But, I mean, he's been fantastic. He could be a guy to watch out for sure. And then Vavra, who we got in that Colorado trade, was really solid in Double-A. He'll start the season in Triple-A again, another guy that could come up. Let's look for other guys we got in trades. So Nolan Jones, actually a really disappointing season for him, so I wasn't that pleased. Let's see, Drew Mendoza. He started the year very cold for us, and then he picked it up towards the middle. Highest he's ever been in a farm league, so, you know, he gets that sort of being tested mentality. Who else? I think that's all that I wanted to talk about. Zamora was another guy we got in a trade. He had a pretty small sample size, but he was solid. Hunter Barco, here's the guy that I want to talk about real quick. We thought that this was maybe our future ace at pick 11 in 2019. He's not shown it. He's declining in terms of his pitching ratings. I think it may be time to flip him over to a hitter because as a hitter, he does look quite good, even if the star ratings don't show it. But as a pitcher, yeah, I think the arm injuries have really done it for him, and that's a bit of a shame because he started out so strong. I mean, I really thought this was the guy, but yeah, I don't think so, which does make me fear a little bit for Brewster, but all fingers crossed. And next episode, we will have a chance to reform this team in our image, and hopefully we can put together a bit of a better season for you. I know that one wasn't the most enjoyable one for me. I hope that you got something out of it, if only that maybe it's fun to watch me struggle, or the trades were good. So if you did enjoy it, leave a like, not for me, but for the algorithms, and I will see you guys on the next one.